today we're talking about sexuality because not a lot of us are allowed to talk to our elders about sexuality and not necessarily sex, but how you identify sexuality. What are the cultural norms or the social norms that help you define it? And as I'm a millennial and my mother is Gen X, we just wanted to have this conversation on live just to see how we were able to cultivate our own sexual identities. So, would you like to be my mom today, or would you just like to be a person today? A
I
human.
to be a person.
I just want to be a person
And
today.
talking about sexuality, sexuality for me is freedom. So I want to be free to be the person that I am.
Okay. Sexuality is freedom. Okay, we should make this a definition. Oh, okay. So I will honor how you want to be referred to today. I will not call you mom today. You're just a human today. So Arlene,
Yes.
if I could call you that,
Yes.
how do you define sexuality? How would you define that? You said freedom, but how else do you define that?
When I say freedom, I mean um freedom in terms of being satisfied eternally,
That is factual.
mind, body, and soul. More so, I think that when I was growing up, it was more of a physical or how you identified your gender. It was more of those things. But today, it's about everything else. It's more, and you're included in that. And you have a sense of freedom and what makes it feel pleasurable for you. And
Yeah,
pleasure doesn't have to involve another partner or a partner.
right. Mhm. So sexuality can be something you define and something you experience on your own by yourself for you solely.
Yes. That
Mhm.
thing that makes you go, mm.
So, and again, we're not going to talk about sex too much because there's boundaries. She don't want to hear about what I'm doing, and I don't want to hear about what you're doing. So, so, but what you just mentioned, is sexuality just mostly about sex for you, or does it include other things? And if so, what are those things?
I think growing up for a long time until I've had a couple of relationships, I thought differently of sexuality. But I think that we were taught, I was still in the generation of it's the birds and the bees. Okay, so that's the generation I come from. We still was hearing the story about the birds and the bees. And I think on like Thursday nights, I used to go to this center and they used to tell young girls about their bodies and, STDs and stuff like that. But as far as a parent to child, I didn't have that conversation with my mother. But as I got older, had relationships, I learned what I like and what I don't like, and that sense of freedom is where sexuality comes in because I'm free to say that I don't like what I see going on, so I can't remove myself.
Right.
Or I like the way this feels, so I will continue.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so, again, does that just revolve around sex for you when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I think so, but now today, because I have experience, sexuality is about experiences as well.
Mm. So how you define sexuality has evolved and has changed as you've grown.
Yes, yes. And I think it should happen that way for a lot of people because starting out, you're only going by what you were told. You're not going by something you actually experienced. So once you experience it, then that meaning changes for you.
Yeah. This incense is just going off. Okay, this incense is going
That's
off.
okay. It looks really good.
Like, hello, I'm here to be seen. It's sandalwood, by the way. It's a beautiful, gorgeous. We do a little ritual here before we go on live. We get our tea and we do.
Cheers.
What are you drinking today?
I think I'm drinking chamomile and honey.
Okay. I'm drinking chamomile and apple cinnamon. So, that's our cute little ritual. um, okay, so that's how you define sexuality. And for context, what
No, saying hello, everyone. Thank you for joining.
hello everyone. Um, I guess I can describe how I define sexuality.
Yes.
And for me, I would say sexuality for me. I think just centers around pleasure, and I derive pleasure from a lot of different places. So I would define sexuality on pleasure and expression. And I think it's just basically expressing the ways I choose to express how I want to experience and go after pleasure. And for me, I find like a good meal pleasurable. I find like a good smell, like a good incense pleasurable. I find like creating something for my own gaze and really, really like being like, oh, I did that. Like that's really pleasurable to me. So I find a lot of pleasure in a lot of places. And you know me, I also think everything is romantic. I'd be like, so for me, these words aren't reserved for partners, but they're reserved for just your intimate relationship with yourself and just the intimate relationship you have with people in your community and that are part of your world.
Yeah.
So yeah, sexuality for me is just based on pleasure. But I feel like sexuality, when people define it, it's people based. And it can be, and I think we can get into that. But for me, sexuality is just based on my ability to engage with pleasure in people and places and
Mhm.
things, really.
The ability to be present.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like the same when it comes to creativity.
Mm,
Like I could sit here all day and just create art, and because my art is my expression, what I'm feeling in the moment. So if I'm feeling, let's say, a little rage or a little upset about something, I could create my character or my image based on those emotions without lashing out at someone.
yeah.
So I find great pleasure in, hey, look what I created.
Noel John Query says, your ability to be present. Oh yeah, you ate with that. You ate with that. Question: do you think that creative energy and sexual energy are come from the same place?
Yeah. Yeah. And because when you're at high vibration and you are exchanging energies, the creativity flows. So I do think they go hand in hand. I do think they align. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think that's what people say when they say we're God or like we're part of God or we are part of the divine, like we're vessels. Because I think the same, and I've never had a child, so I won't equate it exactly. But I feel like when you talk about giving birth or you talk about creating something, I feel like all of that energy stems from like what created us. So because something created us, we now all have the ability to create. And people have sex for pleasure and people have sex to create. And some people create, like paint or draw to create or to birth the new creation. So I feel like all that energy speaks to like our divine ability to bring forth something that is intangible to the tangible. So I don't know. Ah, okay. So we've defined what sexuality means for us, which I think is really important because I was looking up a definition of like what sexuality actually means, and I looked in a few places, and trusty dusty resource Wikipedia. I'm gonna share a few different like definitions I came across. And if you have anything you want to share, you can too. But it's so interesting that I ended up on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia kind of said like, sexuality isn't something that can be defined like just like one main definition. Like it's something that grows and changes per person, which I think is really valuable and empowering to know that like you can define what sexuality means for you at the end of the day. But I know sometimes people like to be grounded in the idea of what we're talking about. And so I came across this kind of this like little paragraph on a website called gender.study. And so it says sexuality is a concept that touches almost every part of our lives, influencing who we are, how we relate to others, and how society structures our roles and expectations. However, that's not what I wanted to read. Psych, just kidding. Forget everything I just said. What I wanted to say from gender.study was when we think about sexuality, our minds may immediately jump to sex or reproduction, but it is so much more than that. Sexuality is a broad and complex concept that covers a range of identities, roles, orientations, and behaviors. It is a deeply personal experience, but it is also shaped by the larger social, cultural, and historical context in which people live. Sexuality is not just about the sexual acts, it includes how we think about ourselves and others in relation to gender and sexual orientation, how we express attraction, how we experience intimacy, and even how we relate to power dynamics in relationships. So, and under sexuality is your sexual identity, which is, if you prefer to be, identify as male, female, if you
Yeah.
identify in those ways, and your sexual orientation, which is who you are actually attracted to. So all those things come under sexuality. Um, so
But
those are
but that's new. That's changed through the decades because it hasn't always been that. So it's one of those words that are changing with the times. I guess we could start saying the words are interchangeable.
oh, in terms of like sexuality and sexual identity and sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. I can see that. I could definitely see that. Um, your gender identity could be your internal sense of being male, female, non-binary, or other genders. Your sexual orientation is who, as a person, you're attracted to romantically and sexually, and that could be identified. That's when we get the labels of the LGBTQ uh community, which I am proudly a part of. Proud member. So when you think of sexual orientation, you think of terminologies like bisexual, pansexual, lesbian, heterosexual. You start thinking about those things. So all of that, and then you have gender expression, which I think is also important to talk about because I think, like, when we talk about gender expression, like, I think there's this interesting concept where it's like, well, how can someone be a man and wear a dress? So when you think about gender expression, it's expressing yourself not in a binary, and you express yourself by what you eat, what you listen to, where you like to go, what you like to wear, and your gender expression does it can you just define it for yourself. It doesn't always have to be directly connected to your gender identity.
Hmm.
So if you see people out in streets, it's like mind your business. But yeah, was
J-
there anything that you found or came across that you wanted to share?
Um, Not in particularly, but I know that. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me.
Not this young, not this young.
Oh, excuse me. That wouldn't even wait. I'll try to swallow it. It wouldn't even go away. Sorry. You try to swallow. You try to swallow your yarn. That joker was coming. I apologize. But I couldn't hold that one in,
Yeah,
and I
it's cool.
was trying. That's all the meetings I was in today. Um, this is my last meeting.
Yes. Yeah, so this is your last meeting.
It's my last meeting. But what I've learned about sexuality and all the dualities is you have to be open to listening to what someone else has to say about it or how someone else express themselves. I think sexuality is not something that gives people that gives people the right to judge. Because they say, "Oh, well, it's this, so it should be that." No, sexuality in itself has a lot of different meanings to it. So we shouldn't hold one meaning for across the board. It just doesn't work that way with sexuality. It has many, many, many meanings, and it has changed through the years.
Yeah. And it's a spectrum from person to person. It's fluid, it changes, it's allowed to morph. And I would
Yeah.
love to know for you coming up when it came to sexuality, do you feel like you were able to express your sexual before we get into that, I would love to know, what is your gender identity? Do you identify as male, female, non-binary? How do you identify?
I'm just me. That's it.
You're just
I'm a
me.
just me.
Just me.
I just can't get into all of that. I'm just me. I'm not getting into this because, I don't like titles as it is.
I
I
don't.
don't like titles as it is. I think it gives you a false sense of narrative. Um, so I don't like titles. What's I getting ready to say? I just don't like titles. I am who I am, and that's what I want to be recognized as who I am.
Gender identity, me. sexual orientation, Arlene, period. And that's what it is. Like,
That's what it is. And I have the right to I have the right to say that. And someone goes say, "Well, you didn't say you wasn't this or you wasn't that." It doesn't mean that. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I know where I stand and I know where I don't stand. So I'm comfortable with. I remember wearing a shirt that said equality, and someone was saying, "You're not scared to wear that shirt? Why should I be scared?
mm,
Why should I be scared to wear a shirt that says equality? That's inclusion of all." I don't understand. So, but that's not to say I was always in this place.
yeah.
I feel I will be doing injustice if I don't say this part. I wasn't always like that. I grew into this part because I remember raising my child.
mm,
No titles.
Right. No labels. Even if
Um,
you have spawned, no titles.
so I remember and I just wanted everything in the world to not want her to be like, what do you say? How do you say it? What's the word? LG.
LGBTQIA plus.
Yeah, there we go. See, I knew you would have the right words. And I did a lot of that. I did a lot of protecting and just making sure that she wasn't that or any of that. But through the years, I've learned through self love, counseling, working on myself that as long as you love yourself, that's all that really matters. As long as you are kind to people, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
You can live and just give it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter what I look like for me to be kind to you. It shouldn't matter who you like for me to be kind to you.
Yeah. I just
And
think it's shocking. Like, there's so much, like, people got bills to pay, and, like, eggs is $3,000. Like, I don't know how people have the mental capacity to be worried about someone's orientation or gender identity when do you think like, just be so shocked that people have that much mental fortitude and just capacity to be just, and it's just so easy to be like, man, actually, it's just not for me. Like, it's actually really quite easy. So I don't trust people when they are so against something because to be against something requires you to invest in a lot of energy. And I personally don't invest in a lot of things. If I don't care about this is me. If I don't care about something, I'm not investing that much of my energy and their time. Like I don't. That's really odd behavior.
yeah,
But you named that because I was about to say I'm gonna be on some stack. I'm being honest because I'm glad you said something because I was about to be like, see, see, piping hot integrity. I love that. I love that about you. Y'all, my coming out story, I remember I was so scared. I remember I was so scared. First of all, since we were here, I've never asked you this question. Did you always know that I was gay? Like, did you know I was queer? Like, could you tell? Could you sense? Or were you projecting? Or was it things that you actually saw me do in my childhood?
never had a clue. I was blindsided. I was blindsided.
Y'all, I had such a, like, there is so much, just, and there's so much, like, internalized homophobia that I had to move through. And I think I feel like more people should talk about that. Just like internalized like racism and homophobia. I think it's really important, even if you are a Black queer person. But yeah, there was so much internalized homophobia that I had to move through because I was so scared to tell my mom that I said I was bi, but we all know the bi pipeline is very long and vast. But I told my mom that I was bi. I was on lunch. I was like, Mom, I gotta tell you something. Cause listen, I just got into this. I was about to get in this beautiful relationship with the love of my life. And I'm like, well, if I'm about to be stepping out with this person, I gotta let my mom know. Cause me and my mom, we're close and we weren't as close at the time, but it was important for you to know. And I remember I called her on lunch, and the first thing you said was,
I said, "What? I didn't hear you."
you said, but what about my grandkids?
I still say that. What about my grandkids? I need some grandkids to spoil and send them back to you.
And then I told my father was like, basically, duh. Like my dad literally was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, did
but
everybody know but me?
you also caught me at a good time in life. That, when when people say timing is everything, then that you caught me at a good time. You caught me when I was in that safe space. You caught me at a time when I had learned about myself. I had learned about what love really is and what really isn't. Because, we're chasing what do you call that lady? Cinderella stories.
Mm,
We're chasing those. You know what I'm saying? So we're chasing those stories, but what actually is happening is something that's totally different. So by the time you came to me, I did my self-love, self-evaluation, working on myself, identifying what love is for me. Also knowing that it was important for me. I remember when you lived in college, I remember seeing you look sad for a very, very long time. You were sad about something. I didn't know what you were sad about. I just knew that you were sad. So with that,
pursuing men. That's why I was.
okay, so with you being sad, I know what that looked like on you, and it was more important that you be happy than how I felt about your preference.
Yeah,
So by the time you came to me, it was just like, if that's what you choose, that's your life. You gonna be happy. How is it gonna affect me in any way?
yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, but was I always that way? I promise you I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have any context or understanding of what it means to be attracted to the same sex. Like, I didn't think about it in that way, whether it was like bad or wrong. I just thought it was wrong or bad because of like, I remember I asked you to like wear a tie to school because all the cool girls are wearing a tie. Like, I'm not thinking of the gender norms attached to what it means to wear a tie. I just know the smartest, brightest, most popular, stylish girls at my school were wearing it. And I was like, oh my God, I want to look like them. Or I wanted to wear pants to school because I was wearing uniform and it's cold in Brooklyn. Like, why would I not want to wear pants? You know, like, and I remember I had Shelly make me some pants. Like going to school in my uniform fabric, or like I wanted to play the drums. You were like, I mean,
Yeah,
the
it was
signs,
just like, no,
the
that's the
signs
boy
were
way
there.
to jump. No ties, pants. Yeah, I very well was like that.
You're a girly girl though, but you're also like really dainty. You're like, like y'all. When I tell you in the '90s, early 2000s, hair was always flat. Always coming through the house with the Ashley Stewart bags, new outfits, hair done, nails done, like new cell
I
phone
was
every
that,
time it dropped. Like,
I was that girl. I was on I was on look. I was on somebody's payroll. It makes a difference.
right?
It makes a huge difference
Yeah.
being on somebody's payroll and being on a fixed income. That makes a huge difference. But okay, so that yes, that was me. And life happened and it was a part I didn't like myself. So I had to relearn to love myself. So I had to embrace sexuality.
Your own sexuality. Embracing your sexuality allowed you to embrace the sexuality of others. So basically, everybody who's out here hating on people's sexuality, that means they have some internal work to do.
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%. Let me read this to you.
Thank you. What you gonna read? What you gonna read?
The exchange of energy in union with self awareness, love, intimacy, truth, and you. That spells out sexuality.
Talk about
Okay.
it. It's a poem.
For self, E is for energy, X is for exchange, U is for union, A is for awareness, L is for love, I is for intimacy, T is for truth, and Y is for you. It don't get no better than that.
You better come on. You rapping?
Huh?
I feel like you rapping in here.
So, yeah, so a lot of times when people can't accept people, it's for a number of reasons, but the number one reason is because they don't love themselves enough.
Talk about it. It's just so interesting, and I find that so interesting here in America. As much as sex sells and sex is a part of everything, like when we look at like celebrities, like just the sexier they are, the better, the more successful they are. Like when we see what sells in media and like marketing, as much as we're surrounded by sex, there's still such a repression and shame around sex. So it's just like clearly we're all having it. Clearly we're all doing it. Well, not me. I'm a virgin mom. Obviously, I'm not having sex. But no, just
I'm a I'm a returned virgin.
you're not to return to being a virgin. And I don't say that for shame. I just say that because my mom doesn't want to think about me having sex. But like, I just think it's so odd that we just have such a shamed culture around sex. And I feel like maybe if people just got laid more,
Ooh,
maybe
ooh.
again, how do you have time to be thinking about sex in this way if you were having it and it was great for you and you were having a great time? I don't understand how people would have the time to shame people for the type of
Here,
sex they have. Where
here's
do
what.
because when it involves children and human and children and animals, that's where we've drawn the line. Shame, 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 shame. But
No, again, people are having sex, but they're not experiencing the sexuality of it,
oh, the intimacy.
the intimacy. So anybody could have sex. Like there used to be a question someone used to ask: Can you be satisfied without having an or can I say it?
Oh,
Orgasm. Can you be satisfied without having an orgasm? And when someone can answer that question and they say, "Sure, I can," they have a high level of sexuality. They understand. They are in tune and with their divine, as you said, they are in tune and aligned with themselves.
because that goes back to what they were saying. Like sexuality is a part of like intimacy is a part of sexuality.
It is.
And so you're saying that people who have shame around sex,
Yes.
as long as it's obviously not associated with the trauma. So you're just saying like we're just not taught the importance of intimacy in our
Yeah,
sexuality.
because you gotta understand, especially like during my generation, I think yours is a little bit more freer. But during
Yes.
my generation, everything we did was a shame. If you did this, you was a hoe. If you did that, you was a tramp. So it was especially for women, there were so many things, so many negative words around us expressing ourselves. So we had all of that stuff packed within us. Now today, we feel a little bit more free to express ourselves and get that stuff out. Because once you start to get it out, you calm down a little bit. You know, like you said, you need to get laid, but laid.
I need to get laid.
So, but you learn once you become, what do you call it, in tune with who you are, life gets easier, your loads get easier, and you accept people for you don't have time to worry about what people are doing with their life and what they're not doing because you're so busy worrying about what you're doing and how you keep your high level sexuality up for yourself.
And get your sexuality up. That's
Get
what
your
you said. You
sexuality up.
said
Yes,
you can't clearly be happy if you got some time to worry about other people's sexuality.
that's right. And it doesn't have anything to do with having sex, which is, what some people say, oh, just have sex and you'll feel better.
Yeah.
That's not going to make you feel better. I call that a false alarm because it's a false sense of temporary satisfaction.
Mm.
It's a temporary satisfaction because it only lasts as quick as a couple of seconds and that feeling is gone. You understand what I'm saying?
So you're saying
So
like orgasms are like crack. No, okay. You gotta keep chasing the high. Is that what you're saying? I feel like that's what you're saying. Speaking of
yeah,
high, yeah.
yeah, you gotta keep chasing it. And not only that, like once you get to the mountaintop, what was that? Once you get to the mountaintop, each experience will be different, but then you gotta have more. It has to be more to it.
You gotta keep upping the ante. So you're saying so it sounds like what I'm hearing is what you're saying is like orgasms maybe are temporary, but like that intimacy and that connection and the experience in the moment and the quality of the relationship you have with that person is also a facet of sexuality.
It is.
And
Absolutely.
also the connection that you have with yourself while also connected to that person is also how you define sexuality.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Absolutely.
prolific. That was truly prolific.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like I had a question, but I don't think I have a question. I lost it. Oh, I did, and we're probably gonna like wrap up shortly, but I think the question that I have for you is where was the messaging around shame coming from when you were growing up? Was it media? Was it your peers? Was it your parents? Was it the community? Like being a black person, being a black woman? Where was the shame coming from?
Because your first interaction is with your family, I would say your family. Your next one is with the school. So it's in stages. It's in stages because you interact and whatever it is that your parents are telling you, that's what you go out into the world with. Now you go out, you go on to school, and the kids and the peer pressure and everything else is going on. Now you bringing that back home to your house and trying to figure out how to decipher how you should behave based on what your parents said and then based on what your friends said.
Mhm.
Now you start getting into politics, right? So now here you come back home again and you trying to put it all together again. So the shame is is a collective of many different things.
Mhm. So the how we define sexuality within ourselves is an expression of the messagings we get from all those places
It's the experience of it, yes.
and how we feel accepted, how much we want to be or allow ourselves to be accepted or not to be accepted in those places.
I don't like that word accepted because we shouldn't have to be feel accepted by anyone. No one can validate us. So I don't like accepted, but I don't like that word accepted.
Yeah, that's real. That's valid. That's valid. That's valid. I'm interested to know what how is sexuality expressed in TV, like media, like music and TV, from when you were like, let's say, maybe like elementary school age to like maybe you're like 20, like you're whatever age you moved out of the home. I'd love to know how like sexuality was displayed on TV and music.
Oh, but the messaging I got was just do it.
Watching, I mean, go off, but
All I know is growing up that if you wanted to have an intimate night, you needed to put on some Teddy Pendergrass, Marvin Gaye, turn off the lights. That's all you knew. You was turning off the lights, and whatever happened, happened. So that's all you knew. But there was no sense of. I mean, you could listen to the words, but to me, there wasn't. The emotion was there. How do I say? The emotion was there, but I don't think the feeling was there. Is that what I'm trying to say? I think the feeling was there, but not the emotion. That's it. The feeling was there. So you know, you were boom, 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 boom. You feel that, but the emotions wasn't there because you're not taught the emotion. No one teaches you the emotion of having a relationship. They barely teach you how to get it on, but you listen to music and TV, and that's where they start. Oh, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, and through it again through experience, then you learn. Okay, so maybe not that rough.
yeah. Yeah. So you were saying the music of the time was instructing you how to have sex, but like there's really no,
There was no end to it. It's just get there.
yeah, there's no like, so it's all like surface level. Like if you burn the candles, if you wear something cute, if you play the music, surface level, you have all the right elements, but there's no instructions on internally what those elements need to come together to look like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you pick up on some good music, like some turn 'em up.
Yeah. So you just was like, you just knew to get there. Turn off the light, to put on the red light. You just knew to get there to do those things. Whether you was doing it right or not, you don't know. But you just knew to get there and do it.
Do you feel like our music today evokes that same level of sexual like sexuality in that way?
No, I don't. I think the music of today, I'm sorry for those who
Mainstream.
artists. I think a lot of it is disrespectful to women and how you should treat women. I hear a lot of it is but gotta give my man D'Angelo, how does it feel? See, he
Um,
asked and he wanna know how does it
mm,
feel?
yeah,
You know, saying how asking you how does it feel versus telling you how it feel and how you supposed to feel and how you think they making you feel is two different things. So if I could use those that as an example, I'd rather a man ask me how does it feel than a man to tell me how if you put this here and you put that there, I should feel like this.
yeah.
Boy, you did nothing.
Who
Oh, sorry.
that ain't did nothing. But thank you for naming D'Angelo's name in the space. Obviously, he has passed by the time this live has come out.
He's
So obviously, so much love and grace and just healing and comfort for his family. There's been
yes.
so many people who've been impacted by his work, his artistry, his mysticism, his just enigmatic nature and the way he puts music together. You know, he grew up in a church. So if anyone's interested, I am hosting a tribute actually on this Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So October 15th, just in case this live is really old at some point whenever you see it. So I will be doing a tribute to D'Angelo and just how he's impacted my life. Like I'm actually genuinely sad. And it's so interesting we're talking about sexuality and D'Angelo comes up because I remember when I saw his documentary back in 2019. It was my first time going to Tribeca because I'm a filmmaker, and I was like, I made it, y'all. I got passes to Tribeca, and I saw the lineup of all the movies, and I saw that there was a D'Angelo documentary, and I'm like, absolutely without a question, I'm watching this. And I remember leaving the theater, and I was just so taken aback because at that time of my life, I hadn't fully discovered who D'Angelo was, his career, and his impact with music. I think his Vanguard album came out. I'm gonna say the name wrong. The Black Messiah and Vanguard, I believe, came out. And I wasn't evolved musically to appreciate that album, but that album had just came out. And I just remember watching the film and just seeing he was actually genuinely uncomfortable with the fact that people only saw him as a sex symbol, which is kind of like what encouraged him to step out of the limelight. Like he was grappling with his ability to bulk such sexual energy from people and have such influence over people. Like I think in the documentary he talks about saying like, "Hey, raise your hands," and he sees everybody raise their hands or something like that. And so he just was really grappling with his ability to impact people, his ability to only be seen as a sex symbol, and like he couldn't trust that people wanted him for him and his work, on top of just other things he was experiencing in his life. And I
Mhm.
just remember like that was the first time I really thought about what parasocial relationships are, like what it means to be related to entertainers, celebrities, artists. You know, just this understanding of like people just gobble people up for their entertainment, for their pleasure, and forget there's a whole real person there. So it's just
Absolutely.
so interesting that his name came up in this conversation. So thank you for naming him.
Mhm.
I
So
just
you
hope.
said you think it's on the 17th, correct?
Sorry, yes, sorry, I said the wrong date. Yes, the live is on the 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for correcting me. I'll be doing the tribute here. On my page, I'll be co-hosting with Joint Jams Radio here on Substack. So either you can check out the live on my page here, or you can check out the live on the Joint Jams Radio page. So yeah. Do you have any thoughts about sexuality? Anything you want to know about me? Probably not, right? I know. But like, do you have any thoughts? Any like closing word that you wanted to share, express about sexuality?
Learn to love yourself. It gets easier. I knew my phone was
A
gonna
booty
ring.
call. I have this turmeric on my tongue. A little early for a booty call.
Woo,
Not even dark outside. Oh no, the sun's down.
it's dark now. Yeah, it's dark.
It's dark now. But yes, I believe um those are all the questions. So I think what we can really boil this down to is that sexuality, from what I'm hearing and gathering from your experience and what you've instilled in me now, because you've raised me to define myself and show up in the world based on my own definitions and understanding, which I appreciate. It wasn't always perfect. It wasn't always like this. Um, but understanding your sexuality is important and is a great foundation to a great sense of self. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, y'all heard it here first. Your sense of self, sexuality, having a relationship with yourself, all those things are connected and all those things are important. That's all we have to say about the birds. We don't really talk about sex like that, like that, like that. But yeah. Well, we will catch you in the next one. Our next topic is what? Millennials don't listen, right, Mom?
Millennials don't listen. You will be a millennium. Do you listen? Do
I
you
guess
listen?
I guess people are gonna have to find out. So that is our next topic. It's or the myth busting series. So myth or not a myth? Do millennials listen? And we'll be talking about that in our next live. So please stay tuned for when we're dropping that one. So bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.